Thank goodness everything is finally ready. If someone had told me how tedious it would be to organize a big wedding, I would have given up right away. But, as is the norm in such cases, the ugly truth is revealed gradually. And most often when it's too late. I was already married, and happily married at that. And I was finally able to fully appreciate the fact that my late wife Julie had agreed to a small wedding. It was a beautiful, intimate ceremony with no fuss. Just a few friends and family. Very quiet, very romantic. But no, of course my new bride Rachel wanted it all. A big, no, huge wedding with all the bells and whistles. Who cares about color-matching napkins? Not me, that's for sure. But for everyone else, it seemed to be a matter of vital importance. Needless to say, in this case, everyone else consisted exclusively of women. My future father-in-law prudently stayed out of it. So I was at the mercy of my mother-in-law, my fiancée Rachel, and her best friend Amber. Of course, I was asked whether to decorate the church with roses or lilies. But everyone seemed to think I was incompetent in such matters, which was pretty close to the truth. From time to time, I tried to object by mentioning my wonderful, humble ceremony with Julie, but my concerns went unheeded. Heck, those remarks even elicited openly hostile looks from me for some reason. Yes, I was already in love. Deeply, completely in love. And I lost my beloved wife to some freak accident. But did that mean I should never mention her again? Declare her persona non grata? Deny her existence? I don't think so. Rachel had always known about my past, and Julie was a part of me and always would be. However, after feigning interest in an endless number of small decisions for a few weeks, I felt we deserved a break. Everything seemed to be settled and things seemed to be on track. Even the non-worldly issues of the type of umbrella to protect the bride in the event of a sudden rainstorm and the type of car to take us from the church to the party had been resolved. I felt that the only unresolved details were the possibility of a surprise nuclear strike and the color of ABC's protective suits, but I prudently kept silent about it. All in all, everyone was happy with the progress of the preparations, and I felt that only one thing still needed to be urgently addressed. This was a reunion with the woman I was planning to marry soon, who seemed to be a little distant from me by then, which I considered to be a consequence of the stress obviously caused by the wedding preparations. Rachel recognized from the beginning that I had a past with Julie and helped me conquer my demons. She pulled me out of the deep depression I had fallen into and brought me back to the world of the living. She was even sympathetic to the fact that I sometimes inadvertently called her Julie when we made love, which I think happened less and less often. Over the months, I had grown to love Rachel, perhaps even as much as I had loved Julie before. Although she was very understanding, she forbade the removal of several pictures of Julie from my house after the move. She was also very sensitive when I suggested that she dress more like Julie, so I left the issue alone for a while. We argued about my desire to keep some of Julie's knickknacks and her desire to redecorate the rooms. It wasn't easy, but we both knew it wasn't going to be easy. But in the end, we got through it and found a way to live together. Our happiness and love grew day by day until I finally decided to propose to her. Yes, she said yes. But to my surprise, she did so after a terrifyingly long thought. It was very unexpected and a little disappointing. She had pursued me so hard and relentlessly that I thought it was what she had dreamed of. But she just stared at me with a blank expression on her face for what seemed like hours, but it could only have been seconds. Yes, Alex, I do want to marry you. But what? Alex, some things around here don't come easy to me. What do you mean, Julie? She just looked at me with a pained expression on her face. Oh, shit. Rachel. I meant Rachel, of course. Alex, you're a great guy. And I know you've been through hell. I also believe you when you say you love me. But I'm afraid you love more than one woman. Rachel, please believe me. I'm just too used to the name Julie. I love you. I love only you. She burst into tears and threw herself into my arms. Yes, Alex, I will marry you. But please don't hurt me too much, okay? I won't, Rachel. I won't. It wasn't my finest hour, but I hoped that my little misstep wouldn't affect our relationship too much. After that, a slight shadow seemed to hang over us, but the real reason was unclear to me, as the stress of preparation soon began to take its toll as well. My plan was to bond with the now somewhat bitchy Rachel by spending an unexpected wellness weekend with her in the north. Her mood had been steadily worsening during the preparations, and although she had been very busy, it didn't seem to please her at all. Anyway, everything was ready now. All that was left was to get married. And I really hoped that my unexpected weekend would turn out to be a success. I was determined to avoid mentioning Julie at all costs, as well as the details of the wedding. Ooh, Alex. At this point, I even got a kiss, which was a pretty rare occurrence. A romantic wellness weekend? Oh, honey, that's so sweet. Thank you. She seemed delighted, and I suddenly realized how tense I had become, clearly afraid of being rejected again. But my surprise turned out to be just right. Oh, that's great. Just what we needed to repair our strained relationship. Yes, I've been there before. The hotel is very nice. It has a great spa. Julie especially liked the seafood restaurant. You'll see, it's going to be absolutely marvelous. Damn, I mentioned Julie again. I cursed myself, but Rachel didn't react in any way, only throwing me a quick, odd look. We arrived at the hotel early, and despite the bad weather, everything was just perfect. The hotel was very nice, the spa looked wonderful, and our room was just perfect. We're going to have a great time here, I thought, getting closer to each other again. We're going to mend our relationship, and it won't hurt to get laid in the process. Wow, this room is gorgeous, Alex. Yes, when it clears up, you can even see the lake from here. It looks very romantic. Oh, how nice. How do you know? I've been in this room before. Oh, you've been here before? Well, yes, yeah, I've been here. With Julie, of course, but I successfully avoided mentioning her this time. Oh, still, she looked a little stunned. You asked for this particular room? Yeah, I like that. I see. She looked a little annoyed, and I was starting to get a little annoyed myself. Why did I have to deny my past with Julie? Rachel must have known I loved her, so why was she so insecure? Was it such a big deal to use the same room I used to occupy with my late wife? She held fond memories, and I saw nothing wrong with that. The weather deteriorated quickly, and shortly after we arrived, there was a massive snowstorm. Michael, the nice guy at the front desk, informed us that we would be stuck in the hotel for a few days. Not that I didn't care, on the contrary, it seemed kind of romantic. Besides, I wasn't planning on leaving our room that often. Just to fulfill our most basic nutritional needs and to relax in the spa from time to time. I was even glad that any active vacation was no longer possible. More romantic time for us, I remarked to Rachel. For some reason, she seemed less enthusiastic. I just hope I can get back to work on time, she replied surprisingly abruptly. A faint warning bell of bitchiness rang in the back of my head. Let's grab a bite to eat, shall we? They have a great restaurant. Good. I asked the waiter to find a particular table, and we were lucky. It was free. Don't tell me you were sitting at this very table with Julie? Yes, there's a nice view from here. Maybe I should wear a wig? A wig? Yeah, and dress like Julie, maybe? Rachel, don't be ridiculous. Alex, this has to stop. You knew about my past all along. Yes, but I'm not going to relive your life with her. I'm more than willing to create new memories. But I don't want to relive what you experienced with her. I'm Rachel. I'm not some replacement for Julie. Rachel, this is who I am. Julie is a big part of me and my past. So I have to share you with another woman for the rest of my life? Divide me? Well, I don't think so. I want to. Well, I can't change that. Now I was a little upset. If you see it that way, then yes, you will have to share me with my late wife. You knew how much I loved her. Well, if I have to share you, you better watch this, Buster. Maybe it will teach you something about sharing a spouse, she exclaimed loudly. I could see that she was having a hard time with this, and that perhaps I should have been more diplomatic. But it was a sore spot for me too, and before I could say anything else, she left the table. There was a buffet for lunch at the hotel. Rachel went there, and after a while I decided I'd better follow her, talk to her, and reassure her. She was way ahead of me in line, and I saw that a handsome, large man was clearly interested in her. He spoke to her, she laughed, he touched her hand, she lightly placed hers on his hand. They looked almost like a happy couple. I'm not prone to jealousy, but it was a little alarming. I felt my pulse quicken slightly. Could this be some kind of revenge? I watched in mild amazement as they continued to get along just fine. They joked and put food on each other's plate, giggling like teenagers. After their plates were filled, they chose a small table for two. Goosebumps ran down my back. What was she thinking? I finally made it through the line, grabbed a chair from a neighboring table, and sat down at mine. "Hi, I'm Alex, Rachel's fiancé," I said, extending my hand to him. The asshole didn't even acknowledge my presence, let alone look in my direction or take my hand. I yanked it away, which elicited a giggle from Rachel. That had hurt. Hell, she was deliberately trying to hurt me. "Rachel, what are you doing here?" I was starting to get seriously annoyed. People around us began to notice what was happening. It was getting quite embarrassing, but we had to do something. Rachel decided to join his game of completely ignoring me. They both seemed to be having fun and kept talking about inconsequential things. I stayed at their table out of sheer stubbornness. There was no backing down, so I tolerated, even though I felt deeply humiliated. They talked about a lot of things. About work, about the hotel, about their families. But Rachel managed to completely avoid mentioning me in our upcoming wedding. "You are such a wonderful woman, Rachel. I'm so glad we met here. And I can't believe you're here all alone. Danny, I find you very attractive too. And I'm glad we're snowed in. I believe we're going to have a wonderful time here." "Rachel!" shouted I loudly. Everyone looked in our direction, but I didn't care. They were still quietly ignoring me. Not the nicest way to treat your future husband, I thought, becoming furious. After a while, Rachel even leaned across the table and kissed him on the lips. Everyone around them gasped. It was painful. It was very painful. I was in physical pain as I witnessed it. I am not prone to violence, so I had no way to physically prevent what was happening. I also didn't want to leave them alone and retreat in defeat. But she would definitely get an earful when we were alone again. "Rachel, if you'd rather stay with me, you'd better stop this silly game right now." "Danny, why don't you show me your room?" "I think it's a little noisy in here." Even that jerk Danny seemed a little surprised by her boldness. But of course he didn't mind in the least. They got up and left, leaving me stunned. Finally, seeing no other options, I went to our room, feeling the stares of the entire restaurant on my back and being utterly humiliated. I could hardly physically force her to be faithful, could I? If she decided to leave me, there was nothing I could do about it. But at the moment, I was too stunned and hurt to think about any long-term consequences. I sat in my room for a while, trying unsuccessfully to read. I was furious, hurt, saddened, disappointed, and above all, utterly helpless. In addition, I had serious doubts about the marriage. Finally, my numbed brain was able to form an idea. I asked Michael, the nice guy from reception, to give me Danny's room number. He was sympathetic, but said he couldn't tell me the room number, even though it was 107. I changed into warm clothes and walked around the outside of the hotel. 107 was on the first floor and visible from the outside, as Michael had informed me. I found the room and was surprised to find that they hadn't even bothered to close the curtains. They were sprawled out on the couch, looking very cozy with each other. But at least I was relieved to see that they were fully dressed. I took a picture of them with my phone. It was getting darker and darker outside, and the lights came on in the room. After a while, they saw me standing there looking in. Rachel gasped at first, but then visibly relaxed and pointed at me. They both waved in my direction, smirked, and started kissing again, no doubt for my benefit. I took another picture and left. It was too unbearable. I was afraid that this disrespect alone would be enough to ruin our relationship beyond repair. I waited in my room for ages again and turned into a nervous wreck, unable to do anything and hating myself for it. I would have preferred to be strong and arrogant, but unfortunately I still loved the bitch. Late that night, I walked into the restaurant and saw them sitting there. They looked like a couple, hugging, kissing, having a good time. I took a few more pictures before I decided to order room service food for dinner to avoid further humiliation. I was expecting her to come to our room after dinner to make up, but in vain. Around 10 p.m., I went to check on their room again. This time the curtains were closed, but there were more than enough gaps to peek inside. The lights were burning dimly and I could see that they were kissing again. I tried to stay calm and look at what was happening as if it didn't concern me. This way I hoped I could get more pictures without having to throw up or run away. That plan went down the drain when I had to witness them start having fun. I somehow managed to keep taking pictures the whole time, even though I was going crazy. It was freaking cold though, and I was starting to freeze. I left when they were done and cuddled up on the couch. I went to our room again, cried a little, beat my fist on the bed for a while, downloaded photos to my cloud drive, and finally was able to get some sleep with the help of sleeping pills. I woke up around 9 in the morning. Rachel was sitting in a chair, quietly watching me. I didn't say anything, and neither did she. I wasn't angry anymore, just sad. There were too many possibilities running through my head. It could have been my wife. We could have had children. It all disappeared in a matter of hours. She didn't even look remorseful, I thought. She looked quite content. Either she was completely unaware of the consequences for our future, or she didn't care. Maybe ending the relationship had been her plan all along. She could have made it easier and less painful. "Are you feeling better now?" she asked. "No. I'm going to spend the whole day with Danny, and all the time until we can leave. We've already gotten my stuff into his room. After that, I'll be yours again, at least until you mention Julie again." She explained it very calmly. "No," I said it in an equally neutral tone. "It's already been decided. Try to have a good time here." And with that, she just walked away. I couldn't believe what an arrogant bitch she'd suddenly become. Had she changed, or had I been judging her so poorly all along? She clearly didn't want to end our relationship. She just wanted to teach me a lesson. No way. Sure, I was a little careless when I kept mentioning Julie. But that reaction didn't fit the situation. It's over between us, I thought. The problem was that I had to stay at the hotel. I just wanted to run away. To run away from this horrible situation, from the feeling of helplessness and humiliation, and most importantly, from Rachel. But there was nothing I could do. For a while, I just stared at the wall and let my thoughts run in agonizing circles. No, it wasn't getting me anywhere. Thinking wasn't improving anything, it was only costing me my mental health. I needed a distraction until I could put this horrible mess behind me. Okay, I can get a snack, I thought. As I was on my way to breakfast, my new friend Michael stopped me. "You don't have to put up with this. I've lived here a long time, I know the weather. The roads will be open for a very short time today. I think you'll be able to leave in an hour or two, following the supply truck. We won't tell other guests about this opportunity for safety reasons. But you will be able to handle it in your four-wheel drive vehicle. Around noon, the next storm will start. Then the roads will definitely be closed for another 3 or 4 days. Like I said, you don't have to put up with it. I strongly advise you to leave." He seemed genuinely sympathetic. "Thank you, Michael." I meant it and gave him a good tip. I felt like he just saved my life. Every second I spent here was undermining my self-esteem more and more. The mere possibility of escape made me feel better. I packed my things, checked out, and waited in the car for the delivery truck to leave. It had cleared the road a little and could tow me if I got stuck. But I made it to the highway without the slightest problem. The drive home was interminable. My brain was still trying unsuccessfully to make sense of what had just happened, and my mood was as bad as the weather. One thing was clear. There would be no wedding. I would cancel the whole thing. This whole mass of pointless decisions made absolutely no sense. It made me feel good. No one will ever know if dessert was really appropriate for a winter wedding. I stayed in our hometown mainly because of Rachel. I had much better job offers in other regions, including one very good offer in San Francisco. It was painful for me to turn it down, but Rachel insisted on staying close to her family, and I accepted. Now I could see if the job was still available. I felt almost relieved. After the horror I had been through, I felt a sense of freedom. New possibilities were opening up in front of me, a whole new life. And for the first time, I felt like I had really dodged a bullet. I wasn't married yet, and I could just walk away without any punishment. But on the other hand, I hadn't proposed to her for nothing. I loved the damn bitch, I really did. But her act at the hotel made breaking up with her surprisingly easy. Just thinking about recent events was enough to burn away any feelings of remorse that threatened to surface. I knew the pain would come, but right now I had to try to focus on my future. At home, I immediately canceled all wedding reservations. The hall, the caterer, the DJ, everything. And I sent out wedding cancellation cards to everyone I invited. Due to unforeseen circumstances, we are sorry to inform you that we have to cancel our wedding. Neutral wording. I could have used much worse wording, but I didn't feel it was necessary to make these things public. I then called the owner of the San Francisco company and explained my situation very honestly. "Come here, Alex. We'll find you a place to live. And you can get that job anyway. I'm actually really glad your ex turned out to be such a fool. He even chuckled slightly. I had to internally agree. I couldn't share his humorous view of the situation, at least not yet. But in a way, I was glad too. If she had cheated on me 6 months later, things would have been much worse. I was glad she showed her true self early enough. Of course, it still hurt. Losing the woman I loved hurt as much as the circumstances. I quit my job, packed my things into my car, and left our shared apartment. On a sudden impulse, I'd even peed in her underwear drawer, but it didn't feel so good afterward. Hell, it was childish. But it was at least a sign to show her how I felt about her. The trip to San Francisco would take 4 or 5 days, and I was looking forward to it. The solitude, the quiet, the chance to settle down and think about my life. After 2 days of brooding, anger, self-injury, and resentment as I set out on my journey, the phone rang. It's Alex. Alex, honey. Rachel here. Thank God we have cell phone service again. Soon even the roads will be cleared. I didn't answer anything, being too stunned. All the resentment returned. Why did I even answer the phone? I had nothing to say to her. Damn, I should have checked the caller ID first. I couldn't believe how calm she seemed. Alex, are you still there? Yes. How's it going? Not very good. Me too. Alex, honey, did you cancel the wedding? My parents called me. Yes, of course. What did you expect? That I'd marry you? Really? Alex. Please. I know you're hurting, but please don't make a big deal out of it. It was just to show you how painful it is to share your spouse. I'm sorry if it got out of hand, but I was so hurt and angry about the whole Julie thing. I'm sorry, but I guess I wasn't thinking straight. It was a terrible mistake, but I'm only yours. Nothing has to change. I'm the only woman from now on. Maybe, but that person won't be me. What? Alex, stop it. I know you're hurting, but it's really nothing. That guy was never important. I was so angry at you and so hurt. Okay, what I did was completely disproportionate. Let me make it up to you, okay? I don't care how you justify it or how you see it. All I had to do was make my own decision. And that's what I did. As a result, we broke up for good. Maybe I should send some pictures to your parents and ask their opinion. Alex, I hope I can get out of here soon. We need to talk. Would you mind picking me up? No. Why not? I don't want to. You're no longer my responsibility. And I'm no longer in the neighborhood. Alex, where are you? Don't make my life harder, please. Let's see. The sign says Kearney, Nebraska. Are you kidding me? No. I'm going to California. I'm starting a new life without you. Alex, she sobbed. Don't leave me, please. It didn't mean anything to us. I just got angry and things got out of control. I'm so sorry. Maybe it meant nothing to you. For me, it was a complete nightmare, the worst time of my life and the ultimate end of our relationship. Alex, please turn around. We can still fix this. No, I don't even want to fix anything. You tormented and publicly humiliated me for 2 days. It wasn't a sudden slip-up. You had many hours to consider your actions. And you intentionally hurt me and openly cheated on me. Repeatedly. In public. Tried to cuckold me. Defeat me. I'm no longer interested in you. Not at all. Have a nice life. And I hung up. What a bitch. The phone immediately rang again. I put her number on my ignore list. Finally, I could resume my journey in silence. Unfortunately, my newfound calm was gone again. Every now and then I tapped the steering wheel, unable to tell if I was angry or frustrated. The silence didn't last long. After about an hour, the phone rang again. Alex speaking. Alex, this is Carl, Rachel's father. Hey, Carl. Alex, what's going on? Did you cancel the wedding? Yeah, no. Actually, it was Rachel who canceled it with her behavior during our trip. Alex, it can't be that bad, can it? Let's see. She was flirting heavily with another man in a restaurant. She ignored me when I tried to stop her from publicly kissing him. She publicly stated that she would go to his hotel room with him, and she did. She had sex with him all night. She came to my room to announce that she was going to spend the whole weekend with him. The whole hotel knew about it. What do you think of that? I can't believe it. It must be some kind of misunderstanding. Would you like to get pictures of this misunderstanding? I have plenty of them. While they're kissing in the restaurant, while they're romantically cuddling in his hotel room, while they're having sex in his room. They weren't really restrained about it. They had a lot of fun rubbing it in my face. There was a brief moment of silence. I'm sorry. Alex, you're right. She's clearly not ready for marriage. I need to apologize on behalf of my daughter. I hope we can keep in touch. Of course, Carl. I've always liked Sue and you. It would be great if you could be my in-laws. Yes, that's too bad. What are you going to do now? I'm going to San Francisco. I'm going to build a new life there. Good luck, Alex. You're a good man. Goodbye, Carl. Damn, that call hurt again. My whole future had fallen apart in a matter of days. I'd imagined Carl would have a serious talk with Rachel now, and he was a no-nonsense man. Several friends called me during the trip. I didn't give them any details, but I think most of them had at least a vague idea of why Rachel and I had broken up. I had to promise that I would give them my new address as soon as I had it. Finally, the calls died down, and I was able to start a new life and put the old shit behind me. Easier said than done. My thoughts kept going back to Rachel, to the good times we'd had. And those horrible weekends. After 2 months in San Francisco, my doorbell rang on a Friday evening. I reluctantly opened the door, expecting to see Jehovah's Witnesses, but it was much worse. There stood Rachel, dressed to the hilt, beautiful and nervous. I immediately slammed the door shut again. Sure enough, she called again, but I turned off the doorbell. Damn, how did she find me? Where was I supposed to go? Bora. And I realized I wouldn't be able to avoid her if she really put her mind to it. Reluctantly, I opened the door. Better to get it over with. But she was already gone. Good. I woke up at 9 in the morning. It was my damn doorbell again. In my sleepy state, I walked to the door and opened it. It was Rachel again. I silently stepped aside and let her in, resigned to my fate. It wasn't worth putting off a conversation that was inevitable anyway. At least this charade would end tonight. Without a word, I went to the kitchen and made coffee while she watched me silently. I silently handed her a cup and took one for myself. I silently went into the living room. She followed me, and we both sat down. We drank our coffee, still not saying a word. She looked good. I could see that she had really made an effort to look exactly the way I liked. But it didn't change anything. My feelings for this woman were gone, and that realization made me very relaxed. I could face her without having any unwanted feelings, without being weak. Alex, she whispered. She could speak. More or less, but it seemed to be giving her a hard time. I'm sorry. I didn't say anything. Not to make things difficult for her, but there was nothing I needed to say at the moment. I've been totally misbehaving. I only nodded. And I'm sorry it took me so long to find you. Of course, you can mention Julie whenever you want. I'll just have to live with it. I was just so insecure. I thought you didn't really love me, that I was just a convenient substitute for Julie. You kept pictures of her on the walls. You called me Julie when we made love. You have a picture of her in your wallet. You mentioned her all the time during the wedding planning. Then you had the wonderful idea to take me to this health club. I was over the moon, but I found out it was just a repeat of you in her life. It was too much. It was more than I could bear. I just exploded. I'm so sorry. Rachel, I know I should have been more sensitive when I mentioned her. It wasn't very nice, and I'm sorry. But that's no reason to publicly humiliate me and outright deceive me. I know. Don't you think I haven't beaten myself up for it over and over again? We looked at each other in silence, not knowing what to do. How did you find me in the first place? I think all our friends know your address. But no one wanted to turn you in. I had to trick someone by borrowing his phone without his knowledge. I was glad to hear that. I had good friends. I gave up our apartment and my job. I rented an apartment 1 block away and am now looking for a job. I was surprised, but it didn't change anything, and I certainly wasn't going to respond. The news didn't make me happy, because it clearly meant that she would be coming after me for the foreseeable future. It would make my life more difficult, but I felt strong enough to resist her. Alex, I know I behaved horribly in that hotel. I intentionally and publicly hurt you. I humiliated you. I pushed you away from me, and you had no choice but to leave me. At first, I just didn't understand why I did it. It's hard to understand because I loved you then and I still do, just you. I didn't love Danny. He was physically attractive, but I didn't even really like him. I was desperately trying to explain to my parents and myself why I did what I did. At first, I tried to convince myself and them that it started as a lesson to teach you what it's like to share your spouse with someone else, and that the lesson was out of control. But after a while, I realized that wasn't entirely true. I didn't just want to teach you a lesson, I knew from the beginning that I was going to hurt you. So what was the real reason? Dad told me that I was probably just jealous. Jealous of a dead woman. You always described Julie as absolute perfection. She was obviously to you the most beautiful woman in the world and the epitome of feminine perfection. You never mentioned a single fight. She was on a huge pedestal, and I felt like I couldn't compete with her. I was so intimidated by her presence that I didn't even dare to accept when you proposed to me, even though it was my biggest dream. Rachel, I'm sorry, I really am. Of course, Julie had her faults. Of course, we had our arguments. But I suppressed thoughts of those aspects after her death. I felt it was inappropriate, that it would tarnish her memory. I'm sorry I portrayed her in this way in front of you. Surely you could rival her. I loved you as much as I loved her. Oh, Alex, she sobbed and was about to lunge at me. Wait a minute. I said you could compete with her, and I was talking about the past. You can't now because something has horribly tainted my view of you. Alex, just give me a chance to prove you right, to make it up to you somehow. Maybe I can stay by your side until you start trusting me again. I'll be patient. You can even glorify Julie if you want. I'll learn to live with it. I don't know, it's not that easy. I'll take the time to get you back any way I can, no matter how long it takes. Quite an impressive speech, Rachel. I believe you. Thank you for agreeing to talk to me again. She clearly didn't understand what my neutral response meant to her. No problem. I'm even surprised at how calm I am about it today. I apologize for yesterday. It was rude. I was surprised. Don't worry. Alex, how do you feel about me? I still love you. Only you. I haven't been with a man since that fateful night. And I've only had sex with him once. I'm taking it easy now. I think I've mostly forgotten you. You're not mad anymore? No, but I also don't love you anymore. She flinched, but soon recovered. It's bad, but it won't stop me. It could be worse. You fell in love with me before, maybe you'll do it again. And I'll be kinder to you this time, much kinder. Rachel, I can be calm for you now, but I also don't know how I can trust you again. Sure, I've done something wrong, but your reaction was completely disproportionate. I was always waiting for the other shoe to drop. What are you going to do if I forget to take out the trash? Hire a hitman? Make a threesome starring you? Regaining trust in you isn't even a goal for me right now. Can you believe me? I'll never be that stupid again. And if we're ever together again, we'll have a contract. If you leave me for any reason, I'll be left with nothing. No money, no access to our kids. Same thing if I leave you, you get everything. But that will never happen anyway. Kids? I had to laugh. Yes. In the unlikely event that we get back together, I want some. Here's the contract. Surprised that she already had something prepared, I read it and immediately saw that it was extremely harsh. She gets nothing if we break up for any reason, not even custody or visitation rights to potential children. I assumed it wasn't even legal. Did Carl write this? Yeah, is it that obvious? He really let you do that, I suppose. Yeah, and Mom too. And most of our friends. They all seem to know at least roughly what happened, but I don't know how. Not from me, I only told Carl about it. I know. Keep the contract, it's already signed. You don't have to sign it, just put it in the safe. Okay, just in honor of Carl's efforts. But I wouldn't want to be with you because you're bound by a contract. And the main problem remains, I don't love you anymore. I don't trust you anymore, I'm not even sure I like you. That last statement shocked her a little. I don't even like me? Well, I think I understand. I hurt you badly, even brutally, for no reason at all. Alex, how about this? You show me around San Francisco. I'm new here. That way you can test me out just by spending some time with me. Let's just be friends. Well, that's it. Did I want to avoid her? Would it look like running and hiding from her? That would be weak. No, I figured I could maintain a warm, friendly relationship with her. I had to admit that despite what I said, I still liked her and that I didn't want to feel like a coward by continuing to run away from her. And here I had no friends at all, and the company was more than welcome. It was a good way to prove to me that I was over her, just to spend time with her without falling in love again. I don't know San Francisco very well either, but I think I can show you some of the places I know. Thank you, Alex. But I'll make breakfast first. She went into the kitchen humming and humming. Maybe she's overconfident, I thought. Not my problem. I no longer minded her presence, but I also saw no chance of us getting back together. It just wasn't enticing, contract or no contract. In the weeks that followed, she jumped at any opportunity to spend time with me. The scenes that followed were almost comical. She usually wore rather revealing clothes and touched me whenever she thought she could get away with it. Once when we were in my kitchen, she was wearing a very, very loose t-shirt, and she tried to lean forward at every opportunity. If I had wanted to, I could have seen her tits unobstructed. But I had seen them many times before, and for some reason I didn't feel like even looking. But if she wanted to play with me, I was ready. Smiling inwardly, I looked at just about everything but her cleavage. Most of the time she followed my gaze, trying to bring her breasts into my field of vision. Eventually, I had to stop this before I burst into laughter and left the room with some excuse. A few days later, again at my apartment, she tried a different tactic. She chose hot pants as her weapon of seduction. I was glad she wasn't wearing them in public, as they were tailored like a Brazilian bikini. The shoes that worked best with them seemed to be stiletto heels. And she spent most of that day looking for some sort of thing at ground level, leaning forward and away from me, keeping her legs straight. You seem to be looking for something, Rachel. Is there anything I can do to help you? What? No, I'm fine. I just thought I might have lost my earring around here somewhere. I see. I barely contained my laughter again. The next day we went shopping, and she was all over me. I think I could count on the fingers of one hand the minutes when her breasts didn't touch any part of my body, but of course I pretended not to notice. For me, it was a lot of fun, but I guess for Rachel it was frustrating as hell. She was clearly hot for me, and I kept rejecting her and her charms. It was probably starting to hurt her ego. I didn't want to torture her, but I wasn't going to sleep with her just to make her feel better. She had decided to get me back the cheap way, and if it didn't work, it wasn't my problem. I felt sorry for her, but giving up would be much worse. It would only fill her with false hope. As a couple, we were done. Wearing a loose t-shirt or short hot pants wasn't going to make a difference. She wasn't happy about it, of course, but she was smart enough not to complain or jeopardize our fragile newfound companionship. A few weeks later, Rachel and I were sitting in my living room. By then, her seizures had subsided a little. Alex, when are you planning on finally entertaining me again? She asked in surprise. What? Of course, I always knew that's what she wanted. But she surprised me by asking it outright. She must have known her reasons well. You can have me, you know that, of course. Just for relaxation, no strings attached. Just sex, not love. I'm clean, free, and on the pill. Rachel, I don't know. I had absolutely no idea how to gently let her go. She was certainly a beautiful woman. If she hadn't been Rachel, I wouldn't have thought twice. But unfortunately, she was Rachel. The same Rachel who had coldly told me, "It's already decided. Try to have a good time here." While I was deep in thought, she pulled off her sweater, which I thought was unfair. I was relieved to see that she was wearing a t-shirt underneath. Surprisingly, it had large text on it and said Alex's girlfriend. I was still dumbfounded as she, smiling, turned around to show me her back. Same text, just as big. Whoa! Nice, isn't it? Yes. My answers were a little sluggish. The blood had almost left my brain by then. I bought 20 of each and I plan to wear them all the time. A t-shirt I plan to proudly display to everyone. I know. It's not really true, but I want to state my purpose. Rachel, things can be a little more complicated between us. I know I can't get off that easy. But I wanted to show you my commitment and keep the competition out. But I need your consent to wear these things in public. If I do, I'll need to take you back. Yes. Her eyes lit up and I felt sorry for her, but I couldn't help it. That's impossible. Let's just be friends, okay? Her expression changed immediately. She looked at me with watery eyes, but tried to be strong. Okay, Alex. I'll do whatever you need me to do. I'm sorry I brought it up. I didn't mean to push. I'm sorry too, Rachel. I'm surprised that I can spend casual time with you again, but that's all I'm willing to do. I see. Wow, what a disappointed woman. Her face actually lowered when she heard that. Alex, I have time. I have no other plans for the rest of my life. I will continue to work on getting you back. I only sighed. I couldn't think of an appropriate answer to that question. I didn't want to hurt her. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want to stop her from moving on by continuing to ride a dead horse named Alex. But I also didn't know how to stop her from dreaming further. That's how we lived for a few months. Rachel definitely wanted more, but carefully avoided the pressure. Her hopes were obviously high, but I was determined to avoid any real relationship with her. I even told her so, but it didn't seem to dampen her efforts. Then my life took another unexpected turn. I got home late at night and was annoyed to find that the damn light was out again. I was trying to find my way in the almost total darkness when my foot hit something soft. Cursing myself for not thinking of it sooner, I finally used the phone as a flashlight. There was a small woman curled up on the cold floor. Sorry, I didn't mean to kick you. Well, not too smart, but what else could I say? No reaction. Hello? Allo? Still no response. Damn it, what now? I couldn't leave her lying on the cold concrete floor, could I? Unable to think of anything better to do, I carried her and her small backpack into my apartment. I was amazed at how light she was. She was pretty dirty, but under her long, slicked back blonde hair I could see a pretty face. She seemed healthy, but she was sound asleep. So I decided to carry her into the guest bedroom, covered her with blankets, and went to bed myself. In retrospect, my reaction was a little odd, but I was dead tired at the time, and in my foggy state of mind it seemed like the best solution. I woke up slightly confused because it was still dark. It was weird. I usually slept soundly until the damn alarm clock gave me my daily heart attack. And it definitely wasn't the nasty thing that woke me up. It was more like something more pleasant. Extremely good, actually. Get away from me! I don't even know you! Yeah, that's exactly what I should have said. Yeah, is what I actually said. So I was protesting? No, not really. I should have. It was irresponsible and dangerous to have sex with a stranger. But you can't always do the right thing, and in this particular situation, I just stayed silent. It was over as quickly and unexpectedly as it had begun. She just disappeared silently into the guest bedroom in total darkness. I wondered briefly if she was even human, because she seemed to have some sort of night vision ability. But before I could think about it, I was sound asleep again. Maybe it was just some kind of weird dream. The next morning, I heard her humming softly in the shower while I was busy making breakfast. She was very thin, too thin for my taste, but she had a very pretty face and a nice smile. The situation was a little tense for me, while she seemed quite relaxed as she seriously emptied my food supply while humming along. We hardly spoke at all and certainly didn't say a word about the previous night. Finally, she just got up, went to the guest bedroom, got dressed, and walked to the front door. My brain was about half a mile behind current events. Thanks, you're a really nice guy, she said simply, and disappeared from my life as quickly as she had appeared. What the hell was that? Have I become a bit slow, or have events just sped up a bit? I realized that I had just had sex with a woman without even knowing her name, which was completely out of character for me. Had I turned into some kind of male slut? No, I still had the excuse of being taken advantage of in my exhausted and sleepy state. I looked around the guest bedroom and found it looked very neat. But when I emptied the trash can, I found a needle that sent a chill down my spine. Oh shit, I thought. I'd just slept with who knows who. Unprotected. What have I done? My spontaneous visit to the doctor yielded the result that I had not contracted any STDs that could be immediately detected, nor was I pregnant. However, some tests would take some time. I vowed to henceforth turn my brain on before sexual activity. Of course you did. Of course, Rachel kept pushing, but to her immense disappointment, I still didn't want to be more than a friend. I just couldn't imagine being at her mercy again, like I had been back then, in that damn hotel. Sure, she saw things differently, but she was well aware of who had messed up and who would walk away in a millisecond if she applied too much pressure. So she wisely kept her ideas about marriage, kids, the dog, and the fence on a pretty thin level. I think we both enjoyed our time together. I still found her physically attractive, but the burning love I had once felt seemed only a distant memory. A few months later, we were at my apartment and were just about to have dinner when the doorbell rang. "I'll get it," Rachel said and jumped to her feet. This was always a big deal to her. She always wanted to answer the door and answer the phone. It was her way of asserting herself, asserting that she was still my woman. I, on the other hand, saw things differently, but saw no need to elaborate. I realized that I was using her to some extent, keeping her close to me, enjoying her friendship. She kept hoping for more, and I never fully clarified that her quest was completely hopeless. She probably suspected this and was probably in a lot of pain, but her determination never faltered. After all these months, I was still perplexed. She was beautiful and could have had a better relationship with any other man. But she was stubbornly determined to win me back. I snapped out of my thoughts, turned around, and saw my mystery junkie standing in the doorway. She looked as thin as ever. With one exception, her stomach looked disproportionately large. Rachel looked a little surprised, and although I never mentioned the episode, she obviously guessed the implications of the visit and this woman's condition. "Please come in," she said quietly. "Please join us for dinner. My name is Rachel. Annie." Without further ado, Annie joined us at the table and happily took up her meal again. "I'm pregnant," she mumbled as she ate. "Okay, we'd already guessed that." The best part was ahead. "It's yours." She pointed her fork at me. There was still a piece of steak perched on it. I studied its texture just to keep my mind off what was coming next. "You're the only one I've ever had sex with without a rubber." And she proceeded to pounce on the food like we'd just discussed the weather. The whole situation was surreal. "Really? The only one? That's hard to believe." Damn, I'd already gone into man defense mode and I hated myself for it. Nevertheless, it's true. But don't worry, I want to find a good solution for everyone. I like you, and I don't want to cause any problems. And guess what? I don't even know your name. She laughed. She really was very nice. I'm Alex." "I'm Anna. It was a pleasure having sex with you." We all laughed, even Rachel. Annie was nice in her own way. "Alex, you had unprotected sex with her without even knowing her name?" Rachel said this completely nonchalantly and impressed me with her calm and accepting demeanor. "Yeah, I guess so. I should have been at least a little embarrassed, shouldn't I? However, I didn't care, it just happened. So what now? You want an abortion?" "No, that's no longer possible. I could do it as long as it was just a clump of cells." "But Alex, I've already seen it. I've seen the ultrasound scans." "Alex, we're talking about a human being now. It's just not possible. I can't kill my baby. She's my daughter." I just nodded. I could understand that. Rachel surprised me by seeming very happy with the situation. "No problem, we'll adopt him." "What?" said I. It wasn't the first shock of the evening, but it was the first that made me drop my fork in surprise. Somehow the speed of change in my family was too much for my poor brain. "Shut up, Alex, this is a woman's business. This was supposed to be my baby if I hadn't screwed it up." "Hi," I said. "I think I have a vote too." But I was barely noticed. Rachel had already decided to deal with it. And to be honest, I was secretly grateful for that, because I had no idea how to handle the situation. "You're an addict, right?" "How the hell does she know that?" "Yes." "And the prostitute?" "Yes, but only with a condom. I'm healthy, and that's how I'll know who the father is. I still don't know why I had unprotected sex with Alex. I think I was overwhelmed by his responsiveness. No one had ever helped me like that before, and I was very grateful to him and still a little high. Always with condoms? That's why I'm still alive, I thought, inwardly chastising myself for being so careless. "Okay, then you can't raise a child anyway." I don't know. "But anyway, we can't have you taking drugs during pregnancy. It could harm the baby." "Yeah, you're right. The problem is, I've been on the big H for a while now, and it can't just be turned off. I've tried time and time again. I want to stop, but I may not be able to do that, even to protect my child. I'm afraid I don't know, really." I might not be strong enough. My life is completely screwed up. The joyful mood faded away. Annie was on the verge of a breakdown. Rachel looked worried, and I just felt devastated. Mine too. Anyway, keeping you away from drugs will be Alex. He's a father after all. You'll be living here. He'll make sure you stay clean while you're pregnant, and I'll stay in the background while you get off the drugs. After that, I'll adopt the baby and you'll be free to do whatever you want. I was impressed with Rachel's willingness to adopt this child to solve my problem, make amends, and get me back. Still, I wasn't thrilled to be drawn into a relationship with her in this way. Anna was as thoughtful as I was, but she came to a conclusion quicker than I did. You may be right about the drugs. I would never forgive myself if I hurt my child. I've done enough damage to myself. She doesn't need to suffer. Okay, deal? Rachel held out her hand. Yes, Anna agreed, and my fate seemed sealed. Of course, being a man, I immediately got up and, well, I put the dishes away. The girls were discussing what to do with their plan and my life. And I was even glad of that, since I didn't have enough brains left to make the hard decisions at the moment. It turned out that Anna had been ordered to sleep in the guest bedroom, and Rachel had claimed her share, staying in my apartment during the day as often as she could. I still wasn't sure how to feel about Rachel's suggestion that we were going to be a couple again, but I kept my mouth shut for now. I'd screwed things up with Annie, and in that moment I was grateful to Rachel for helping me out. The next morning, we all moved Anna's things from her. Well, how should I put it? Some sort of living quarters to my place. Anna's previous apartment was a place where I would never have parked my car under any circumstances. Wow, your life has been pretty shitty, huh? I asked her. Was? Sounds like things are going to change. Yeah, it's been shitty. And it's about to get worse. Hey, I'm not that bad. Have you ever heard of cold turkey? You're not talking about food, are you? Funny. She was completely serious. No, just read about it, okay? And then you better get your guest bedroom ready for it, because I'll be climbing the walls soon. Expect a lot of vomit. So yeah, my life has been crap and it's going to be a living hell. Hopefully my daughter will appreciate it someday. Our daughter. What? Really? Tears suddenly came to this sturdy girl's eyes. Our daughter, you are not alone. We did it together, literally. Oh, Alex. Thank you. She jumped into my arms and hugged me tightly, looking warily at Rachel. Do you still have vacation left? I can take unpaid leave. For how long? 2 weeks, I think. The first 3 days will be the scariest. What can I expect? Only the good stuff. You'll really get to know my feminine side. I'm going to run. I'm going to throw up a lot. I'm going to sweat like a pig. I'm going to shake like a leaf. I'm going to scream at you. I'm going to try to claw your eyes out. I'm going to try to escape. And most of all, I will hate you. Fine. And that's exactly what happened. Twice she almost ran away from me while I was emptying her bathroom. I had a lot of scrapes and bruises. The room would have to be completely renovated. She yelled at me a lot, and I was glad no one called the police. But we made it through the first 3 days. By then, I was familiar with all of her bodily functions, and none of these experiences were even remotely erotic. And so I sat on the floor by her bed, exhausted, looking at the vomit-smeared, trembling ball of misery curled up in a fetal position, and asked myself what exactly I had gotten myself into. As I tried to wipe her hair with a rag, I realized that this was not a noble act that anyone would remember with fondness. I certainly didn't feel like a knight in shining armor. I was just a dirty, tired, hungover guy helping a shivering and sweaty anorexic woman I'd thoughtlessly impregnated. At least I hardly noticed the smell of vomit, sweat, and shit anymore. The whole procedure was awkward, disgusting, and mostly just depressing. And I was really tired. Her sleep cycle was extremely erratic, and as a result, so was mine. A few hours later, she was on her feet again and paced restlessly around the apartment. She looked like a caged tiger. Okay, the worst is over. I need to be alone now that I'm clean. I'm going to take a little walk. I'll see you around. I was still standing in front of the door. Alex, there's nothing wrong with me. Seriously. I just need to be alone for a while. It can't be, Anna. 2 weeks? Then you can leave here. Alex! Let me go! She suddenly screamed. No, Anna. Alex, please, I need this. Just something to soothe the pain. After a second, she switched to pleading. Anna, let's go get you something to eat, okay? Okay. Her surprisingly obedient tone really fooled me. After a few seconds, she tried to run to the door, but luckily she couldn't open it. It wasn't even locked, but pulling it would have been much easier than pushing it. After that, I remembered to lock it. Even in her loopy state, it seemed safer. A few days later, she looked much better. Her eyes were clear again, and she seemed to have regained her composure. In addition, she was no longer sweating and shivering as much. Although she was still too thin, now that her hair wasn't piled up and her skin was no longer shiny, she looked quite beautiful again. The worrying thing was that there was an attachment and emotional instability about her that made me a little weary. I didn't know if it was due to the pregnancy or cold turkey, but she suddenly started touching me all the time, hugging and kissing me. At least when she wasn't sitting in the corner, sobbing or laughing. I couldn't completely avoid her emotional roller coaster. When she was sad, it hurt me. When she was silly, I usually joined in. When she was clingy, I enjoyed the closeness of this pretty woman. And when she was suddenly aroused, you can guess what happened. Suddenly, we were in bed together and having sex again. It was amazingly frenetic, full of need and desire. I hadn't realized my desire for this little woman until now. But I really needed to possess her. And I was sure she felt the same way. The only explanation was that her withdrawal period and all her vomiting, shitting, screaming, and yelling had somehow glued us together. I still realized I was having unprotected sex with a prostitute again, despite my vows to never be that stupid again. But at least she couldn't get pregnant again. And surprisingly, I never felt like I was with a hooker. She was pretty shy, actually. And she even cried a little afterward and clung to me like a burdock. I didn't mind, not one bit. We sat on the bed afterward, me feeling satisfied and still a little surprised. Well, I guess you don't hate me so much anymore, right? Don't be too sure, mister. That was still my bad side. Wait until you see me in a good way. No, seriously, I think I've really gotten over my demons now and I'm starting to think clearly again. No, I don't hate you that much anymore. Actually, I never hated you. You were just trying to help me and our baby, and I'm grateful for that. She smiled cheekily. She was very charming, and she was getting prettier every time. If she kept this up, I was going to have to fight guys off with a stick. Wait, what? Why do I have to protect her? Did I really think she was my woman? I decided to solve this problem with a proven tactic called procrastination. The weeks that followed showed the Spencer family to be very relaxed. Annie and I got to know each other surprisingly well. Being sick and being yelled at seemed to have a strong bonding effect. The fact that I was finally rid of my role as prison warden helped a lot too. We grew closer every day, laughing a lot and having sex. I even noticed a few looks in my direction that may or may not have been longing. Yeah, to be honest, I was starting to look at her the same way myself. Of course, Rachel still visited us regularly, and since she watched us like a hawk, the changes didn't escape her notice. Alex, you two aren't developing some kind of love relationship, are you? I'm not sure, Rachel. We're certainly starting to get closer. She looked completely shocked. Alex, don't do this to me. I feel like I'm so close to finally getting you back. Don't let me lose you to that junkie, okay? Rachel, you know that. Yes, I know. I'm not claiming a share. You can do whatever you want, but you surely know that I still haven't given up hope. Alex, I'm going to keep fighting for you. I won't give up even if it takes decades. I just sighed and let the question go because Annie walked into the room. I knew Rachel was having a hard time, but I realized that I was now starting to think of Annie as my girlfriend, and I was definitely a one-woman man. Anna and I grew even closer as I made sure she stayed away from drugs, went with her to all sorts of checkups, bought tons of baby supplies, and did all the other things parents do when preparing for a new member of the human race. We acted like a normal couple, and at least to me that's what it felt like. After the birth of our daughter Mel, things became even clearer. Anna, Mel, and I were a family, no question about it. All thoughts of giving Mel up for adoption seemed absurd by then. Of course we were going to keep her with us. None of this escaped Rachel's notice during her frequent visits. Alex, I've lost you forever, haven't I? Yes, Rachel. What we had is dead. Alex, please, she sobbed. This isn't fair. I know I totally screwed up this damn weekend, but I really did everything I could to make things right. It has to count for something, doesn't it? I don't know if it's fair. I belong to you exclusively, but you separated us for no good reason. That means we were both free for another relationship, and that's exactly what happened. It's not a matter of fairness, and it wasn't intentional. There is no fixed price you have to pay for what you did on that wellness weekend. You threw a bomb between us, and you never know which direction we will be blown apart. In my case, it led me to Annie. Alex, she was openly sobbing now. I walked over to her and put my arms around her. Rachel, you're still young and beautiful. Go find yourself the right man and don't do anything stupid like that again, okay? No, Alex, I'll wait for you. No! Don't. It can't be helped? I just sighed. She was right. If she had decided to throw her life away, that was a shame, but there was nothing I could do about it. That's how it ended with Rachel. It was sad because I had once loved her, and things could have been great with her. But I didn't love anymore, and they didn't love anymore. I was starting to fall in love with Anna. No, to be honest, I was already completely in love with her. In her awkward, innocent, and charming demeanor. Her sweet face, her total devotion to me. She practically worshipped the ground I walked on. The biggest difference with Rachel was that I actually trusted Anna, which was weird. I trusted a former drug addict and a former prostitute, but I couldn't bring myself to do the same with my ex-wife, who had only been crazy for one weekend. The following years brought us a small civil wedding, Mel's upbringing, Rachel's disappearance, thankfully, and no recurring drug problems. Life with Anna, of course, wasn't always easy. She still had severe mood swings, but by then I knew her well enough to deal with it. Of course, the deep and absolute love we had for each other also helped. Mel was fantastic. She was the apple of my eye and had me wrapped around her little finger. The end came shortly after Mel's second birthday. I had just put Mel to bed in her crib while Anna was still in town and shopping. Mel had exhausted me to the point of exhaustion again, and I just collapsed on the couch, looking forward to being able to stare mindlessly into the tube. As it always does, the doorbell rang exactly the second my ass touched the surface of the couch. Reluctantly, I picked it up again. I opened the door and saw two policemen standing there. Good evening. How can I help you? Good evening, Mr. Spencer. My name is Sergeant Jacobs. Are you married to one Anna Spencer? Yeah, what's wrong? I was suddenly worried. Mr. Spencer, I'm very sorry to inform you that we found your wife dead. Would you please accompany? The rest of what he said was incomprehensible to me. I just fell to the floor. I had kissed her goodbye only 2 hours ago. Was that the last time me or Mel would ever see her alive? Was she never coming back? Would I never hear her laugh again? Never kiss her again? Never again hear her cursing because she stepped on my foot? Never again snuggle against her neck? Never again smell her scent? Annie, where are you now? What happened here? Why? After an indeterminate amount of time, a policeman shook me awake. Mr. Spencer. Are you all right? Should we call an ambulance? What? No. No, you don't have to. Turns out she died of a massive heroin overdose. I didn't realize she was still involved with drugs. One of the police officers told me he knew her. In a brusque, nonchalant manner, he told me that she worked as a part-time prostitute. He knew she was an experienced drug addict, too experienced to have made such a huge dosage error. That such a load would kill an elephant. They were sure she'd killed herself. I was shocked. I had no idea. I realized I hardly knew this woman. She was leading some kind of double life. Within days, I was completely shattered, unable to work and struggling to care for my daughter Mel. A week after her death, I was sitting on my couch again, staring mindlessly into the tube, crying from time to time, feeling homesick and completely unable to cope with the situation, emotionally and practically. Mel was crying again, which was the norm at this point. The loss of my beloved Annie had not only devastated me, but had led to practical problems. My vacation was quickly coming to an end. I needed to go back to work soon. How would I be able to take care of Mel, my daughter? I had no parents to rely on and no other relatives in the neighborhood. A babysitter? Can I hire someone? Could I trust someone? For some reason, most of the people I chose to trust have deceived me in one way or another. Yeah, Anna did that too, come to think of it. She loved me, of course, but in her own way, she was always deceiving me. Led a double life of prostitutes and drug addicts while I was at work or on a business trip. for some reason left me and our daughter alone without a single parting word or explanation. Ding dong. Yeah, that might be the right way to deal with my sadness. Turn it into anger. No, man, that's cheap. She probably had her reasons. She was too weak and couldn't fight her addiction. Ding dong. And either she was being blackmailed or she just lost hope of turning her life around. She must have been desperate, not wanting to leave her daughter behind. No, I couldn't be angry with her. She was a good person, just too weak for this world. Ding dong. I realized that my doorbell had been ringing for quite some time. Damn it. I had to do something about it, right? Ding dong. Mel was crying too. What could I do? I had just tried to feed her and failed again, rocking her to sleep. I just couldn't handle this alone. I felt overwhelmed by the new situation. Ding dong. Okay, what now? The door or Mel? I had no idea what to do about Mel. The door, on the other hand, promised a clear plan of action. Walk up to it, open it, see who was standing there. I could do that. And I did it. And I immediately regretted it. No, please. No more complications in my life. It was hard enough as it was. Not Rachel, please. No, was all I managed to mutter. Boy, you look like shit. I'm so sorry, Alex. That must have been awful. She just held me for a while. Strangely, I didn't feel anything. Sure, 2 years is a long time. But this was the woman I almost married. She betrayed me in the most horrible way. Shouldn't I have evoked at least a little emotion when I saw her for the first time in years? I felt awkward and indifferent, but maybe I was just exhausted. She didn't seem to notice or mind anything. Finally, she let go of me and carried the large bags she had brought with her past me to Mel's room. Hey! I closed the door and obediently followed her, too tired to do anything about it. She picked Mel up off the bed, rocked her a little, and hummed a quiet tune. Wow, I was impressed. Mel began to calm down. After a while, she seemed to be completely satisfied, which amazed me. Rachel carefully put her back in bed and covered her up. Then she simply walked into the kitchen, as if she was the hostess here, and began unloading her bags. She started preparing food for Mel. How did you... I've read all about it. What? When? When I found out about Anna's death. I knew right away that you were going to be in trouble, Alex. She told me this completely nonchalantly while she went about her current business. But she kept throwing quick glances in my direction, which told me that she wasn't as calm as she tried to appear. Do you still live in this neighborhood? Of course, I've never moved. And to answer your questions, no, I'm not dating anyone. Yes, I've been watching you. No, I haven't had a man since that damn weekend when I ruined my life. Now she turned to face me. Yes, I still love you. There were tears in her eyes as she practically ran out of the room. I followed her into Mel's room and watched as she gently rocked and fed her. Damn, why wasn't Mel crying anymore? Usually when I tried something like this, the whole neighborhood needed hearing aids afterwards. What's your plan? Alex, I'll take care of you. I'll always be there for you, always. I kept in the background so I wouldn't interfere with your marriage. But now that you're in trouble, I have to step in. That's quite a statement. This woman had clearly decided to dedicate her life to me, which was nothing short of astounding. Was it love? Or was she just feeling guilty? Could anyone feel guilty enough to behave in such a loveless manner? I mean, waiting patiently for 2 years and then immediately rushing to the rescue? Those 2 years must have been hell for her as she watched me date another woman. Take care? What do you mean? I quit my job. You what? How else can I take care of you and Mel? You need a full-time nanny. And Mel, too. Rachel smiled, and to my surprise, I laughed. For the first time in forever, it seemed. You may be right. Have you eaten anything? Oh. Since when? Since her death? Oh, I don't remember. I guess I do. Okay, Mel has had her fill. Now I'll get to you. You what? You just sit on your couch, okay? Good. And that's what I did. I realized that I was very grateful. Having someone to talk to, someone to keep the loneliness and helplessness at bay, was a huge relief. I heard her rattling pots and pans, preparing something to eat. After a while, she reappeared. Are you feeling better? Yes, less loneliness. And you're right. I need a babysitter. Thank you. But what about your job? Alex, for 2 years now I haven't had a life. I haven't gone out anywhere, hardly bought anything, just lived in my little apartment. The only thing I was spending money on was the gym. You? At the gym? Yes, I wanted to see. Well, I'll explain that later. Yeah, I can see that now. You look really good. Thank you. Anyway, I've saved up a lot of money for such an occasion. So now I can live for almost a year without working. I think we'll decide before then what to do next. Oh, yeah, that was my reaction. Talk about someone feeling like a float and not knowing what to do or say. Yes, oh. I'll take care of you. In a year, you'll know what to do with your life. Maybe you'll find a new woman. Maybe you'll consider other options. She smiled slightly. Oh, I have to take care of our dinner. The dinner was delicious, and I thanked her profusely again. Afterward, I had a strong desire to fall into bed and sleep for at least a week. Oh no, mister. You don't go to bed without taking a shower. And brush your teeth, okay? Yes, Mom. For that, I got a light kick in the ribs. But I knew she was right. My body hygiene had not been up to par lately. Stepping out of the shower, I found my bed freshly made. Anna had been the last one to make it, I realized sadly. Climbing under the covers under the care of a benevolently smiling Rachel, I began to think about Anna. I couldn't shake the thought that our love might have been a complete illusion. Is it possible to love someone you only partially know? So did I really only partially love her? Obviously, she didn't trust or love me enough to open up to me completely. I soon opened my eyes and was surprised to find breakfast waiting for me on the nightstand. I was even more surprised that I'd slept through the night, which was unheard of after Annie's death. How had Rachel managed to keep Mel quiet for hours? I realized that not only was she determined to improve my life, but she was quite capable of doing so. I decided to pounce on the offered breakfast, and it felt good to eat something substantial again. After a while, Rachel came into the room, humming happily and holding a sleeping Mel in her arms. She makes it look so easy, I thought. Could a baby really replace a mother so quickly? One thing I knew for sure, I couldn't replace Annie like that. I still hadn't come to terms with her death in double life, and it hurt like hell. I was grateful for Rachel's willingness to help me, but far from feeling any special affection for her. Feeling better? Physically, yes, thanks to you. Emotionally, I'm still stunned. I don't understand how this could have happened. Are you talking about Anna's death? Mel was still perfectly content and not bothered by our conversation, which was a complete mystery to me. About everything that's happened in my life, to be honest. Our weekend trip, your brutal betrayal, Anna suddenly coming into my life, me suddenly becoming a father, Anna's death, you're moving here. I feel like I'm half drifting, half pushing, but constantly stumbling through my life with no will of my own. Alex, if you want me to move out, I will. I'll be terribly disappointed, but I don't want to impose. No, don't get me wrong. You're helping me a lot, please stay. She only smiled, nodded, and left me alone. It looked suspiciously like a tear was leaking from her eye. I went back to work a few days later, as I was sure Rachel had no trouble handling my household. She seemed to really enjoy the situation and was handling it beautifully. She took care of everything, including my emotional instability, but also stayed out of my way when necessary. She never tried to kiss me, and I appreciated that, but often hugged me when I was depressed. She was selfless, caring, and empathetic. She was my best friend in a situation when I needed it most. In short, she was great. Alex, I need to visit my parents this weekend. They need my help. It's been almost 2 months since Annie died. Do you think you can handle a few days alone? Could I? Yeah, probably. I felt stronger and more stable again. But did I want to? No, I suddenly realized. For some reason, I felt like she had left me for a few days. Not because of any practical considerations, but because I wanted her presence. No, because I needed her presence. This realization was somewhat unexpected, and I was confused. She looked at me with a puzzled expression. She looked surprised for a few seconds, and then a huge smile appeared on her face. Yes! 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 She exclaimed, punching the air with her little fist. She jumped into my arms and clung to my neck like a burdock. I was still confused, but I realized I had come to a decision. It was pointless to deny it. I still loved her in a way. It was just that the feeling was slumbering, being buried under all the hurt and stress. She felt invigorated enough to give me my first real kiss in years, and I was amazed that it was exactly what was needed. Was she still my woman? Had she been all along? And what about Annie? Was she just a replacement? Or was Rachel just a replacement now? Did it matter if everything was as it should be? Probably not. Finally, she let go of my neck and began to drag me toward the bedroom, making more and more short bursts of joy. And I realized I was smiling broadly, too. Suddenly, everything in the world felt good again. The sex that followed was a little awkward, but we didn't care. We were both just happy to be reunited and snuggled together for a long time, her tears wetting my breasts. Just don't hurt me again, okay? Never, Alex. Never again. We both suffered because of my stupidity. But it wasn't all for nothing. We had a beautiful daughter, and you're going to have a better Rachel than I could have been back then. I promise you I'll be the best friend you'll ever have. Good. So we have a deal? You go to your parents' house for the weekend, but don't stay a minute longer. And from now on, this is our bedroom again. The three of us will be one family. That's how I got to the point where she silenced me by giving me a huge spanking, which was perfectly normal for me. After this rather unexpected turn of events, we lived like an ordinary little family. There was no talk of marriage, no talk of children. Mel, of course, called Rachel Mommy. We decided not to tell her the truth until she turned 18, or maybe not even tell her. It wasn't necessary, we were happy as we were. Alex, you know I'm totally in love with Mel, don't you? It happened out of the blue. We were sitting on the couch, Mel was asleep, everything was fine. Why did she ask such a profound question now? Of course. I looked at her expectantly. There was no doubt about it. I love her like my own child. I know, yes. And I'm very glad you know. Yes. But someday I'd like to carry your baby too. I was so jealous of Annie in that. I've been thinking about it for a while. Well, why don't you do it? She still stayed home to care for Mel. We pooled our funds long ago and lived on my income. What? To my surprise, she reacted quite emotionally, jumped up and looked at me with tears in her eyes. She looked almost frightened. What was going on here? Why can't we have another baby if that's what she wants? I was a little embarrassed by her violent reaction because I didn't see it as a problem. We were already living as a family. Well, what's the problem, Rachel? Do you trust me enough to have a baby with me? That's a good question. Really? Yeah, no problem. I realized I trusted her again. She had proven herself many times in the past. Yeah, I know. Oh, Alex. And here she was again, Rachel with the burrs. She pressed herself against me and sobbed. I was still a little puzzled by her reaction, but it felt good. Thank you, Alex. Rachel, calm down. I appreciate you asking first and not trying to trick me. No, she interrupted me. I would never do that. Yes. I know. And I did know. Anyway, let's do it if you want to. How much do you want? Let's start with one thing. I need to get the pill out of my system, but we can start practicing right now. That's what we did. Our meal was finished. Today I insisted on cooking and I did my best. Candles, white tablecloth, 3 courses. Rachel was pleasantly surprised, but a little nervous during the meal. I didn't usually do this and she was beginning to suspect something. I had to act fast if I wanted to keep the surprise. I walked around the table and dropped to a knee while her jaw dropped like a stone. I fumbled in my pocket. Rachel? Yes! Could you? Yes. Yes, Alex, yes! Alex, of course I will. Get married. And I fell silent, falling into her with a huge kiss as I fell on my back beneath her pregnant body. Thank you, Rachel. Are you kidding me? Are you thanking me? I'm thanking you, and I'll be thanking you until the day I die. And you know, you still have that contract. There is, but I don't think I'll need it. You won't. Oh, and Rachel. There's one more thing. It's about Mel. She needs a mother. But she already has one. Yes, but not legally. Rachel just looked at me and, to my surprise, started crying. God, you'll be lucky today, she managed to say between sobs. And for the rest of your life. And I did. So we're back in the present. I'm lounging by the pool in the backyard, and my beautiful wife keeps casting longing glances in my direction while I play with our son. The wedding was small, and just in time to witness it to an overjoyed father before he lost his battle with cancer. Before the wedding, I waited in vain for any sign of a recurrence of the madness. Rachel knew exactly what I was thinking and just smiled. It's not going to happen, Alex. Not this time. I've learned my role. She was right. I just hope the whole marriage thing turns out to be less complicated for others. I always knew the procedure would be complicated and tedious, but Rachel's version and mine seem a bit over the top. Dear readers, if you have actually read this story, it ends right here. What follows is a sort of alternate ending for readers who prefer to skip to the end directly. It makes no sense and has nothing to do with the story. I just assume that these readers prefer simple storylines and quick resolutions. I tried to include all the necessary elements. It's over, Rachel. I truly loved you with all my heart, but you have completely destroyed all my feelings for you. No, she howled. Alex, I'm going to fix this. Please give me another chance. I can see clearly now how stupid I was, and it won't happen again. I've learned my lesson, and I only love you, Alex. It's too little and too late, Rachel. By the way, your lover Danny was stupid enough to try to confront me. Apparently he had no idea about my Navy SEAL past. He's not a bad man, Alex. Did you hurt him badly? Not too much, I guess, but he won't be able to entertain himself for much longer. He never realized it was a covert intelligence operation. I'm so sorry about the way things turned out, Alex. Oh, and don't worry about the $15 million. They're safely tucked away in my Cayman offshore account. Alex, I know it looked that way, especially when I tried to drug you for the cartel and they tried to steal your Mustang, but it was never about the money. All I ever wanted was you. But you can't take him anymore, a woman's voice informed her from behind. Surprised, Rachel turned around. And who are you? I'm Sasha, Alex's new fiancée. She was a few years younger than Rachel and looked like a supermodel. And since I own an international private investigation firm, we already have all the evidence we need. If you're not careful, your threesome video will end up on the internet. You're dead, Rachel. Alex and I are meant to be together. No, Rachel howled, switching to the volume of the jet engine. Yes, you had an honest man and you just left him. Now he's mine and I'm already pregnant with his twins. Have a nice life, Rachel. I did love you, but we were broken up forever. At that moment, Rachel realized how stupid she'd been to treat Alex that way. But now it was too late. Yeah, consequences were a bitch. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. So subscribe to my channel and watch for the next video.